lovely to see you all. Oh my gosh.
Do you ever get tired of that?
No, never. You can keep me coming all day.
30 minutes of just yelling and screaming, guys, go! Right? This is us. We're proud of our little town down here in the South.
I want to spend a bit of time here. I mean, I literally just got off the plane about 3 hours ago, came straight here, so I have zero experience of San Antonio.
This is a good first impression, right?
This is a great first impression.
I think it's only fitting that we start off with sort of the most recent big news regarding your return to your most iconic character, in my opinion, Gollum. You and Peter Jackson are developing this new story. How on Middle Earth did this come about?
It's, you know, I think I've got a very psychic connection to Philippa and Fran and Pete, you know, that ever since we first met, I mean, we've done 8 movies together now, and this will be our 9th, and I'm pretty sure that there will be a 10th, because I've got a feeling there might be another little Tintin movie coming on at some point. But anyway, look, we started to talk about this roughly about 8 months or so ago. You know, they started saying, look, Andy, we really want to reinvigorate Middle Earth. We want to tell there's so many fresh stories that we want to get involved with, and we want to kind of launch this new wave with, you know, with taking us back into the world of Gollum. So I mean, I was obviously, and they asked me to direct, and it's like, this is a dream come true, to work with the people I love working with in a country that I adore working with. How many people have been to New Zealand out of interest? Yeah, well, that's 4. And you're all welcome. You must all come down. Come down while I'm filming.
There you go.
Yeah.
You heard it from Andy.
Yeah.
Is it enticing or is it terrifying to try and pull off this performance with this character after such a long time has passed?
I think, well, look, I mean, I see everything as a challenge and an exciting challenge. There's no point in being terrified about it. I mean, Gollum's never left me, so he's still lurking around there inside. There isn't a day that goes past where somebody doesn't come up and ask me about Gollum. So no, I mean, in many ways, I'm not scared. I mean, the challenge will be telling a great story, and we're right at the beginning of that process. We're just about to start writing it, you know. So it's all to come. So that's thrilling, mildly terrifying.
So not a lot of story is in it, but if you can, just tease for us. What can fans expect from this new adventure? What should they look forward to?
I mean, it is so early. It would be unfair to commit to anything at this point. But I will say that it is a kind of it will be a deep dive into investigating the psychology of Gollum's character. There may well be characters that we recognise who might be coming back. I'm not going to say who, but it will. You know, it'll be again, the hunt for Gollum is a work in progress title. May not end up being called that, but it is going to be. It's going to very much be, I think, the world of Middle Earth according to Gollum's experience of it.
We love that, right, guys? This is both the easiest, probably, panel because you're so wonderful, but the hardest panel because you've done so many iconic things. There's just not enough time to talk about it. We could be here all day, and I wish we absolutely would. So,
well, what time has everybody got to go home? I
mean, you heard it, Bob. Where's Bob at? So I'm going to talk about some of my favorites first. You were in a little movie, I think it made a little bit of money, called Black Panther. You guys see that one?
Never heard of it.
What are your fondest memories from working on the set of Black Panther?
I mean, obviously working with the great Chadwick Boseman. bloody, what an extraordinary human being and an amazing actor and as a leading actor who kind of, you know, every day the energy that he brought onto that film set was just phenomenal. He really brought a great spirit and, you know, we're all bereft without him. He meant such a lot to everyone. And what a great performance. But as I say, more than the performance, it was the spirit that he sent through the entire filming process was quite remarkable.
And that wasn't your only stint in the MCU. You were also in Avengers 2: Age of Ultron, which at the time felt like it really pushed the stakes. What a comic book movie could be. That has been surpassed tenfold since then. But what do you remember from most working with the Avengers on Age of Ultron?
Well, do you know the funniest thing was the way that I came in as Ulysses Claw was quite unsuspecting. Originally, I was working with Joss Whedon on developing the character of Ultron at the Imaginarium Studios, which is our performance capture studio in London. And so we were working on how to bring Ultron to life and how to physicalize him and, you know, how he would move. And then Joss suddenly said, Andy, I've just had this idea. Well, I've got this great character you could play. Do you want to come and be in it? And I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, and then this amazing role of Ulysses Claw kind of was thrust in front of me, and I was like, come on, it was such a great character. It was such a lovely character to play, you know, it was such fun.
And I know, you know, there's promises or contracts or deals you're not allowed to say, but we're now in a state in the MCU where anybody can come back from any number of universes. So if somebody calls you and says, would you like another shot with Claw, are you coming back? Would you like to come back?
100%. Let me tell you something. That year, the year that I call it my annus horribilis, it was when basically in 1 year Caesar died, Ulysses Claw died, and Snoke died. It was just like, what has the universe got against me at this point? You know, where am I going wrong? Why did somebody want to kill the characters I'm creating? You know? So Ulysses was definitely in there. Again, it was one of those where I was turning the pages of the script going, this is going great, I love this, I love it. What?
I had a good question about Ulysses Claw. If Claw had a playlist, what songs would you find on his playlist?
Well, apart from What Is Love, of course. Well, he would probably have a couple Taylor Swift numbers on there.
What's that new one, the Fortnite? Fortnite's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Oh well, no, endless. I mean, gosh. He's got good music taste, I think. He's got good music taste.
We have a ton of fan questions. I'm not forgetting about you guys. I'm just having a lot of fun. This one's from Vanessa. There's probably a lot of Vanessas, but I'm giving you a shout out. She says, Andy, you're an inspiration for so many people in the world. Who inspired you when you were younger?
Wow, that's a big question. I mean, I was inspired by the first films that I saw. The first film that really affected me was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It was the most amazing. Growing up as a child, yeah, that Sound of Music. Then when I was a little bit older, a few years older, Apocalypse Now.
Only a few years.
Yeah, I mean, cinema was just such a huge thing for me, and the Monsters universe as well. I was really into Boris Karloff's, you know, characters back in the day. You know, all of those early monster movies, The Mummy, all of those creature, you know, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, all of the King Kong, Godzilla, you know, all of those. I had model kits of all of those which I painted. I used to love painting those. So those were the characters that, not surprisingly, sort of started to define the things that I wanted to do when I grew up, and the sorts of characters I wanted to play.
There you go. His inspiration was the characters he would play later on, like King Kong.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was just like, I remember the first book that, sort of talking about early inspiration, the first book two books that really meant anything to me were The Hobbit, that when I read when I was about 12, and then Animal Farm. And again, that is a project that I've been working on and I've just almost completed after 12 years of making Animal Farm, which will be coming to a screen near you hopefully within the next year. But it's really interesting, isn't it? And I know it's funny because Peter Jackson says the same things. He said the things that he loved as a kid are the things that inspired him throughout his life. And I think it's the same for me, and I think that's why I've connected so much with Peter and his way of thinking, was because those early experiences, I mean, we all feel it, I'm sure. The early experiences really mean such a lot to us for our whole lives. So yeah, I mean, those are all those. King Kong is another prime example.
It blew my mind when I found out later that there was an actual human doing all those movements, making all those sounds. I mean, mocap wasn't used as much at that point in time. And that movie, despite what anybody thinks, that movie was profound. And the way you are feeling and the way we are all as audience members invested in the fate of Kong at the end of the movie, you are part of that, sir. It is your demeanor, it is your facial expressions, it is all that. I don't think we will ever be able to comprehend just how much you've elevated all the films you've been a part of. One day we will.
Those early days of motion capture, which then became performance capture, people really didn't understand what it was. And I suppose I took it upon myself to be quite evangelical about the process of creating characters like that, because there was a real lack of understanding. And for me, I've never drawn a distinction between live action acting, stage acting, or performance capture. It's all the same thing. It's embodying a character. And when people have said, well, don't you have to, isn't it like pantomiming or sort of dance or sort of, and it's like, no, it's actually about stillness. It's about understanding the psychology and the internal working of a character. I mean, Kong, yes, he's a gorilla, and you have to study the physical behavior of a silverback gorilla, and that was the route we went down. But he's also the last of his species. He's also an incredibly lonely character. He's like this kind of old, lonely hobo character who's lost his... He knows he's the last one, and so there's a sadness there. And then the way that the villagers are sacrificed to him entail kind of dropping them over the other side of a wall where they would be terrified and screaming. And his reaction to that is to stop the noise that terrifies him by putting out that sound. And so it's like you develop a whole emotional kind of base and a psychology to a character, and that's just acting. And so yes, it's about being able to move like a gorilla, but actually what the exciting part of creating a character like that was finding the balance between the humanity of the character like that, the bringing what we could relate to, and it being a gorilla. That's the sort of the secret to it.
You all have homework. You're going to go revisit King Kong from way back when. It feels like forever ago, and now you're going to have a new, profound understanding of that film. I have a question from Elegna. Right in front row. What is it like for you to play a character as unique and legendary as Gollum, and what does it mean to you seeing the impact in so many people even after 23 years?
Well, I mean, it is incredibly humbling to, when I was saying earlier about, talking to people about Gollum every day, I do end up having conversations about that particular character. And I think, and again, which is why going back into it is I'm really looking forward to and seeing what more we can do with him, because it is a character that people relate to, because he is so flawed, but he's also very human, he's vulnerable, but he's also has a dark side. I suppose he connects with all of us in that way. We can all think really dark thoughts, we can all feel very vulnerable and misunderstood and outside and marginalised at times. You know, so I think it's playing a character like that. And I've had so many people who come up to me and said that I really relate to that character, or I've been through this experience in my life. I've had a terrible time, and that I'm related to Gollum, and then, I've managed to pull myself out of that situation. So it is. I'm aware that it is a very potent. Tolkien created this extraordinarily potent character that you can judge him as being a malignant, malicious, dangerous character, but also, as Gandalf says in the story, it's almost there, but for the grace of God go I. It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand, and pity that recognised a vulnerability, and all the characters who come across God, Frodo included, recognise that vulnerability as well as the danger. So I think it's such an incredibly well written role, and I was so lucky to have had the opportunity to play it. And to continue.
Thank you very much. Another question to you. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting their acting career?
Okay, how long have you got?
All night, Andy, all night.
No, I have my three kids. They're all aspiring actors. Not surprisingly, my wife's an actor, I'm an actor, and my three kids are actors. I mean, what chance do they have? But I do say to a lot of young aspiring actors and people who want to get into this industry, you do, when you're starting out, face a lot of rejection. You go up for things, you don't get them. Sometimes, if you're fortunate enough, you do get those roles and you can break through. But I think it's always really important when you're starting out, to not think of yourself as someone who's going to sit at the end of a telephone waiting for the phone to ring to be given a job. You have to create your own, even as an actor, you can't just be there to service other people's projects. Create your own material, write your own stories, find a story that you're passionate about telling, write a monologue about a character that you want to play, or generate your own work. We've all got the facilities now to shoot our own short films or bigger films on iPhones, cut our own material together. I think what I'm saying is, don't be reliant on just waiting for someone to give you a job. You have to create your own opportunity.
I love that advice, and you said something that a friend of mine, Ross Marquand, not name dropping, but you worked with Ross on the What If series, correct? He was Ultron, you were also Claw in the What If series.
That's right.
He said something similar. He says, always practice, record yourself, try new things, build a character, put him through different scenarios, situations, emotions, feelings, moods, record it all. One day it's going to work out.
Absolutely, and that's what I say to my kids as well. Every audition is work. You work on that character for that thing. It doesn't mean, okay, you might get the job or not, but you've done the work on that character.
Absolutely. This question is from Eve. Can you talk about what it was like playing Snoke in the Star Wars sequel trilogy? You heard of Snoke? And also, what was it like working with Adam Driver?
What a nightmare. No, he's a delightful human being and a brilliant actor, and Daisy. And I loved, apart from the fact I got cut in half, literally, halfway through the story, and apart from that little hiccup, it was a wonderful character to play, and particularly with those actors, and particularly I enjoyed working with obviously with JJ, but with Ryan, because it was more developed, the character was more developed at that point. It was there were so many mysteries surrounding Snoke, and people wanting to know the answers, and we purposefully kept him really, really enigmatic, hopefully, and at arm's length from people, and not giving everything away, because we thought that was part of the allure of the character. But I do. But the scene where actually Snoke does get killed, and that was a huge, you know, that was like a week of shooting basically. That whole build up to that, and I really enjoyed playing opposite Daisy in that sequence. It was a fantastic. It was like almost like a piece of chamber theatre. It was just really intense, and you know, everyone went for it. And it was a great experience.
This question is from Patricia. Which of the characters you have played have you felt most reflects your personality? That's a tough one.
That is really tough. I mean, they all reflect aspects of my personality to a certain degree. You know, even the darker, you know, and the nasty ones. As I say, we have to look into the part of ourselves that we, you know, as an actor, you're required to investigate a part of yourself that you probably would want to keep away from if you weren't forced to go there. And that is the part of the challenge of playing certain roles. I mean, I'd like to think I love the character of Caesar because for me he was someone again who was slightly marginalised and outsider, and I always think of myself as slightly as an outsider because I'm not entirely from one place. My father was Iraqi, my mother was British. I was brought up in the UK, but spent a lot of time in the Middle East. So I never felt 100%. I've always felt slightly, you know, in some ways I was able to experience a lot by having different backgrounds, but at the same time I was envious of kids who came from just one place and knew themselves. So I think that is an aspect of myself that I've explored through lots of different characters to a certain extent, that just slightly being outside of things and watching and observing them. And then, so Caesar, just going back to Caesar, I mean, what I loved about that character was that sense of him being, you know, a chimpanzee, but being brought up by humans, so he didn't know whether he was human or ape, and had to find his inner ape when he was thrown into the sanctuary with all of the others in Rise in the first film. And that, the beginning of that journey, I found I could, I suppose, relate to. Interestingly, you know, given that it's a chimpanzee, but we are 97% chimpanzees anyway. But yeah, so I think that, and the journey of that character, and also the great, you know, the great sort of ascendancy into some kind of leader is some, you know, or someone who can like who helps his community, or brings together the disparate community of different apes. But also then in the third film is caught up in revenge because of what's happened to his family. So I think there was lots of aspects of that character that I felt I could really deep dive into these parts of us.
And it worked. We loved it, right? This is a good one. Jeff, where's Jeff at? Right over there. There you go, Jeff. How fitting, you asked about New Zealand. He says, what was your favorite part of New Zealand and why?
Oh, well, I mean, that's like asking me what my favourite character is that I've played. It's like, there's some great places in New Zealand. Wellington itself, where Miramar, the Miramar Peninsula, where the studios were, it's such a great town, it's such a vibrant, wonderful town. But then the South Island is where you go for adventure, the most amazing mountains and wilderness and tracks and locations that you would have all seen in Lord of the Rings. The great thing is, if you do come down, and please do all come down, is that you can cover a lot of it. And if you give yourself 2 weeks, you can and hire a Maui, a little, you know, Winnebago or whatever, you know, you can tour around and see an awful lot of it. But the South Island is you know, the Milford Sounds, and then the mountains, Mount Cook, and the glaciers, all of that. I mean, it's just a phenomenal place. And then in the north, it's lots of sulphur pools and great beaches, and there's more tropical in the North Island. So yeah, there's some terrific places.
We have another question here. If you could have a drink with any one of your past characters, who would it be and why?
Wow. Who would I have a drink with? I think I probably would like to have a drink with Gollum, actually. And play a few games of riddles and just, and actually sort of have a pub quiz and see how good he is at answering. Yeah. No, I actually would. I would love to come face to face with Gollum. Actually, that's a really great question. And I'm shortly to be doing that, I suppose. Yeah, I would be fascinated to try and work out where he's coming from, what he is, who he is.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark saying he probably doesn't have a high tolerance.
You're probably right.
Is Pez in the crowd? Back here? Pez, this is a really good drawing of Gollum on here, sir. I'm going to let Andy keep that if that's okay with you afterwards. He says, how challenging was it to go from Lord of the Rings in the future to The Hobbit as a prequel? And how did that affect how you approached Gollum, aka Smeagol? Please keep that.
That is a great drawing. I love that. Oh, that's so good. That's a great question. Yeah, because it's sort of like unlearning what sort of everything that had happened or was gonna happen to going back into the character. I mean, what was interesting technologically was that, of course, it was 10 years later, and so capturing Gollum and shooting the riddles in the dark scene with Martin Freeman was an entirely different experience to the way it was shot with Sean and Elijah, 10 years before. Because it was fully performance captured, facial capture. The suit was robust, and you weren't tethered to anything. It was much more free in a way. But the character itself, well, interestingly, this will be part of the fertile territory that we are going to be examining in the film that is to come, because it'll be somewhere in that territory. But yeah, going back to you've got to think that the losing of the ring and what that does to you, and the whole notion of that was something that obviously I had to unlearn going back, because Gollum thinks he's still got the ring all the way through the scene with the riddles of the dark scene until the very end. So that was a big jump. That was a big kind of mental gymnastic, kind of doing somersaults into that world. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I could talk about this for hours and hours, and I bet we better not. But that was certainly a big deal.
I'm not too familiar with this next one, but the question is, what was it like to work on the PlayStation 3 game, The Enslaved?
So, back in 2004, for 2005, I just finished doing King Kong and came back to the UK, and I was asked to direct a video game called Heavenly Sword. I don't know if any of you know that game.
Raise your hand, buddy.
With a company called Ninja Theory, who are brilliant at a brilliant video game creation company, and they were very interested at that time in terms of, it was sort of a turning point for those of you who are gamers will remember, where suddenly the desire to have meaningful cutscenes and story and character come to be part of a video game, whereas beforehand it was really more about gameplay. So that game, Heavenly Sword, which then led on to Enslaved, which is the monkey story, was part of that journey, and we basically treated it like doing a movie. So all the cutscenes, I was directing both of those, the dramatic, the cutscenes, and also playing characters in them. But it was like rehearsing doing a movie and then putting all the pieces together. And you know, it was almost like, it was sort of a weird crossover between rehearsing the theatre play and rehearsing the characters for a film. And then it was, you know, the way we create previs or in virtual production with actors in motion capture suits, you know, where you can actually shoot the scenes and then move the camera, then the actors can sit down and then you can move the cameras to where you want them to be. That was a process that we sort of evolved during Enslaved. And it was a really brilliantly written script by Alex Garland, who you all know.
That's great.
Yeah, amazing writer. So, and Rhianna Pratchett wrote Heavenly Sword, Terry Pratchett's daughter, who's a brilliant video game writer. So they're really exceptional storytellers, and to be able to actually bring cinematic experience to those kind of games was really exciting.
We're almost out of time.
No.
But I had a lot of questions that I'm not allowed to ask because I know better. But we're all very anxious to hear anything about the Batman 2. What would you like to share that you will not get you in trouble with DC Comics?
Well, there's a huge arc which no, I'm not going to tell you. No, basically, I know nothing about the movie other than that I've just found out that we're probably likely to be starting filming early next year, and therefore, if you do the math, it'll be a year, you know, it'll be sort of the year and a half after that. So, but I know that Matt's working really hard on the script, and Matt Reeves being Matt Reeves, the extraordinary filmmaker that he is, I can only assume it's going to be another brilliant script, because I thought what he did with that first film was pretty amazing. And I loved working with Rob Pattinson, and I really look forward to playing Alfred in this film.
We hope that, we love that you're going to play him again and that you have a lot more to do in this next one. Aren't we, guys? Yeah! Andy, you are an absolute icon in the industry. We are so grateful that you are here. You can feel and see your passion through your performances, and we thank you for just being you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Bob Willis.
This guy up here, y'all are excited because you're at the end of the day. But I want to tell you something. He went out of his way to be at this show. He was originally to be Saturday and Sunday. He had a lot of performance work and things going on because he's acting, he's motion capturing, he's doing so much work. And he has flown from Lake England all the way here all day long, got up to Dallas weather, and he is here. And I'm going to tell you something. He has done everything he could to get the show. Give him a big round of applause.
Nobody move.
And the request is this.
Everyone take out your phones. And you are going to love this for the rest of your lives.
We love you, Sanitarium.